So I lost my job recently, which obviously sucks. I don't think anybody ever wants to lose their job, but I am happy that I did. Not for reasons that obviously you don't need to quote unquote do anything because I will have to find another one. But it was a very it was a very challenging job that didn't really bring much reward. The ratio of challenge to reward favored challenges more than the reward. And I feel like there was a lot of toxicity and animosity built towards myself and also my employer that made navigating issues and conflicts extremely difficult, despite me doing my best to try and be as, what would be the word? Not political, not charismatic, but trying to, you know, navigate situations in the best way that I could that was fair, decent, but sometimes it's not enough. There is always going to be things that's completely out of your control, and you just have to learn how to embrace some of the things in life that kind of, hit you. But I more look at this change as a defining moment in my life where I now need to make a decision. Do I go a direction of, say, pursuing another job similar to that, make go through the same amount of challenges, receive less reward, and overall just have a hard time just trying to make an income for no reason? Or do I take the opportunity to search for something else entirely? Perhaps maybe less challenges, less reward, less time, and kind of use whatever flexibilities or benefits that come from that to my advantage. Obviously, these are trying times compared to before. Making income is perhaps more necessary than it has always been for anybody. But to give you context, I am a student as well. It doesn't change the fact that I have to make money to afford expenses, obviously. I'm just able to go to community college, so kind of a bit cheaper. And I don't live in the States, so that's another pro. But I think the job that I was doing, it had nothing to do with any of my interests. I was more just good at doing whatever it asked for. Sometimes that's enough. But at the same time, when you're not really truly interested in what you're doing, you are never really going to have the same amount of care that the person hiring you may want you to have. But I would say in this particular context, it was more the person hiring me just kind of out of their mind and really struggled with learning how to control themselves and their anger, and very easily irritated by many things that someone who has a much more reasonable nature, more open-minded, would not be experiencing that level of anger. And so that also, it leads me to reflect and think, if I go and find another job doing something I'm not interested in, is it going to be beneficial for me? Am I going to go through the same things? Right? The flexibilities that came with it were great, but everything else about it was a complete sore. So it's hard. It's hard to figure out direction, because when you establish something that you feel like was the path you wanted to take, suddenly it shears off course. Now you need to kind of figure out how you're going to get back on track. You don't know that if you went south, north, west, or east, and now you kind of need to, go through some murky waters. As much of that sailor analogy is, it's true, pretty true to life. And so I'm left with a decision that is hard to make, because I could spend more time contributing my time and my skills to people who, at the end of the day, don't really care about me. Or I could try to find some way to leverage time and efforts for myself. It's hard. It's hard. But I'm more just bringing all this up because I want to talk about direction. I think whenever you have a new direction that you have to take in life that's going to define your path, always put yourself into consideration before you think in the sense of what are you doing for yourself. And I'm not talking about from a survival aspect. I'm talking about this from an aspect of personal development, from an aspect of what are you doing to improve yourself? Like, are you learning new skills? Are you going to be doing things? Are you going to have flexibility to be productive for yourself? Are you going to be able to improve your life physically, mentally? All these different things are so important, and it's much more important to focus on that when you are ready to go to a new step, take a new step towards a different direction. Because the moment that you choose financial gain over that, in light of the new step, what usually ends up happening is you're going to be in a position where any sort of form of benefit that you could have had for yourself was poured into making more money. And all that creates is just really more issues. It's like Jay-Z said, more money, more problems, right? So when you think about how the many different ways that you can improve yourself, right? I would say top priority is that, instead of like, oh, I'm going to go work I'm going to go work 16 hours a day to get that overtime so that I can pay my bills and have extra funds. Any sort of room that would have had left for myself to do anything is over. I would never do that. I could, but I would never do it. I would rather sacrifice the time and live within my means, in order to pursue self-development. And I think when you're a young person, you kind of need to prioritize self-development, because when you get older and you start to meet older people and you start to meet a lot of other people who are involved with things and they have experience, they pretty much will always tell you the same thing. Develop skills, learn new things, get experience. The moment that you kind of like subject yourself to being like a pawn, pretty much, you're always going to be stuck doing that. And eventually you'll just have to kind of adopt a mentality that will leave you there, because you have wasted so much time and potential that could have been used to really become the best that you could be. And you kind of just let yourself become the worst that you could be, and all of your potential went down the drain. So just to recap, if you have a new direction that you have to take, put yourself, your personal development at the highest priority. And then from there, that can let you decide what sort of job or what other obligations that you might need to undertake, that you may need to undertake or change, and let that be defined by your personal development. Because then you'll be setting yourself up in a position that will be have longer term benefits. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I mean, the availability of jobs that will adapt or be flexible to my current vision is going to be hard. But I might not necessarily need to get a job. I could find other ways. It's hard. It's hard when you don't have, any like a map that tell you where to go, and you don't really know a lot of people. But that's just how life is, honestly. You just have to embrace that. The unknown, navigating through the unknown is exactly how you learn to develop problem solving skills, because you're able to think through your issues. But the worst thing you can do is to give up. And even worser thing you can do is to do things that will try to help you cope. Coping doesn't solve problems. It only delays the stress even more and just builds on it. So yeah.